Hey guys, Scare9 here, welcome back to my channel today, and in this video, we're going to be ranking the real end game of Destiny 2, the strikes. Too many people are focusing on raids and stuff. That's been done to hell and back. No one cares anymore. The new lists are here, and, you know, it's the strikes. People do more strikes than they do raids. It checks out. It's the real end game. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now, before we get started, I will just let you guys know that as many as 80% of you guys that watch my recent videos are not subscribed to the channel. We are making a push to 75,000 subscribers. If you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing. I think that's something I'm supposed to say. It seems to help the YouTube algorithm or something. Don't really understand it, but more subs is a good thing. So if you're enjoying the content, you know, maybe you stick around. That would be awesome. We have a lot of fun here. So we're gonna obviously go through all of these, rank them S tier, which is the best, through F tier, which is the worst. And right now, I just have them listed out in the order that they came with. So like Vanilla Strikes, and then like Curse of Osiris, and then Warmind, etc., etc. So that's how we're going to be doing it. Just pretty unbiased in terms of how I presented it. So we're going to start off with the first strike that most people play, which actually, that's probably Inverted Spire. So I take that back. We're just going to start off with thematically the first strike that you encounter in Vanilla Destiny. And that's going to be the Arms Dealer. I think this is a very, very average strike. There's nothing that makes it very unique. It is probably the most Destiny 1 feeling strike in Destiny 2. Destiny 1 strikes were very formulaic. There weren't a lot of mechanics. That definitely changed towards the end of the life cycle. But I feel like in general, strikes in Destiny 2 tend to be a lot more grand in scale, maybe a lot more mechanics. The bosses tend to be way more unique. I feel like Arms Dealer is just like Valis to Arc version 2.
Whether we wanted it or not, we've stepped into a war with the Cabal.
The EDZ.
So that is where we are here. So I'm just gonna put in B. It's nothing special. It's a fun strike. I don't mind it when it comes up, and it's just, you know, it's just a solid strike at a B. Now, Lake of Shadows. This is definitely one of my all-time favorites. I am a fan of shorter strikes that are fun because you can speedrun them and they're not incredibly tedious. Lake of Shadows has a lot of really more unique mechanics, things like taking bubbles or puddles on the floor or the wall that shoot you all over the place. It's kind of fun having to memorize routes and to get around those. The enemies aren't overly tedious. You can skip a lot of them, but there's a lot of unique scenery here. There's a lot of different rooms. You know, you start in kind of the square and Trossland, and then you make your way into the dam, and then through the dam, and then into the dam again. Just kind of really fun. Very unique visuals in terms of Destiny 2. We don't get to see a lot of what happened on Earth, and so being able to see some of the remaining infrastructure from the Golden Age is really cool, and it's just a fun short strike. So giving it an A. And the next one is going to be Savathun's Song. I'm also going to give this one an A. This was one of the main strikes I was super sad about when it got vaulted. I love this strike. Titan is the most underutilized, criminally underutilized location in the history of Destiny. It is absolutely beautiful, and Savathun's Song let us explore a lot of that, and it was just so good. It's so good. Everything in terms of the aesthetics were really good. The story of this strike is incredible. This is probably the darkest strike in the history of Destiny in terms of, like, 9 people died. And it did give us some of the most interesting kind of quotes.
But there are no powered crystals in this chamber. What's plan B? Never mind. We're going with that plan.
But it also has very large story significance that this will probably lead into Witch Queen and maybe even further DLCs. This has huge implications. It's a lot of fun. I like it. The mechanics of the boss fight are cool. It is a damage gated boss, but if you're fast enough, you can still kill Savathun's Song really quickly. And even if you go all the way, there's some unique mechanics with destroying the crystals, getting the orbs and stuff, just making it more fun. Definitely a fan of this strike. I miss it. Hopefully it comes back in the future. And A tier. That's why I put it there. The next one is going to be Exodus Crash. Do I even need to explain this one? F tier. It's just, come on. They've taken it out. They've fixed the boss fight. It still sucks. Damage gating the boss, and it probably has the most damage phases out of any boss in the game. It's not fun. The Fallen are annoying to fight, especially when they have their arc grenades. invisible bosses. This one relies on public areas way too much, a lot of sparrow pikes, and just no matter what version you're playing of this, a regular one in a Vanguard playlist, a Grandmaster, this strike is never fun. And I'm just putting it on F. I really just dislike it, and I think most of you guys do too. Now, the first strike that I ever played, the strike that was in the beta, the strike they showed us at the Destiny 2 reveal event, the strike that probably came to symbolize what vanilla Destiny 2 was going to be about, better than any individual piece of content, it's going to be the inverted spire. Very grand in scale, very cool strike, not super long, very short, but I think the thing that caught a lot of our attentions, two parts actually, the giant drill where you're going around the drill and there's bits that will come and kill you, that's really cool. And then the boss, who has 3 stages, each of which is drastically different in terms of arena, in terms of mechanics, than the one before it, which is really cool. Protheon goes through the 3 elements, 3 elemental kind of stages. It's very awesome. You can melt it if you're super fast, but if you want the experience, it's there. It's an awesome strike. Big fan of Nessus as well, and S tier all the way. I really don't think I would change this strike in any way. Big fan. The next one in the last vanilla strike is going to be the Pyramidion. And I'm going to give this one an A. Some of the best aesthetics out of any strike in the game. Brachion's an alright boss. The way they did his damage gating is really annoying. You could also bug him out. So if you did too much damage but didn't kill him, he would leave his immune bubble and he would start wreaking havoc, but you couldn't hurt him, but he could one-shot you. That was fun. All in all, very kind of interesting, mind-screwy mechanics in terms of, you know, there's a lot of platforming and you have to dodge lasers and very interesting terrain. All in all, a very awesome strike. I miss it a lot, and it was pretty much the only good thing about IO, in my opinion. So I miss it. It's definitely an A, in my opinion. So we're going to go on to the Curse of Osiris strikes. The first one is going to be Tree of Probabilities. Now, this is an S tier strike in my opinion. If you're going to do a boss with multiple cycles and damage gates, this is how you do it. The intro of the boss is amazing, where he does the John Cena thing and he destroys the Vex. The rest of the strikes were really good. Not a huge fan of the Infinite Forest, but I like that you can just kind of sprint through it. It's all right. It doesn't really slow you down that much. And then the Sparrow part's really cool. Just all of it. A very short, succinct, very unique strike. Big fan of it. And when it was the Grandmaster and made us think even harder about our loadouts, you couldn't just use Anarchy or whatever, it was even better. So, gonna give it the S tier. Very cool strike, and I hope it comes back in the future. Now, the other strike with this DLC was the Garden World. I'm gonna give it a D. Oof. There were not very many redeeming qualities of this strike. Feels very meaningless going through everything. There's a lot of towers and a lot of giant minotaurs that you kill and things, and it just wasn't really that fun. It looked beautiful. The aesthetics were amazing. Probably the one saving grace of this strike. But when you're climbing up through the tower, it sucks. It's just slow and gross. I don't know. I didn't really like it. When you kill the boss, I hate this boss room. Boss rooms that are giant circles with little to no cover are awful, especially when coupled with enemies that spawn like pretty much infinitely, a boss that can two-shot you, and the cover moves. Not a lot of fun. I didn't really like it. Put a bad taste in my mouth. So, D tier. The next one is going to be the first strike that came with Warmind. So there are 3 strikes that came with Warmind. First one's going to be a Strange Terrain. I very much like this strike. Very, very short, once again. The aesthetics were incredible. Some of the most unique hive architecture we've ever seen. Did a little bit with kind of the iced over hive. They could, I think, slow you down a little bit and things like that. Very unique. They introduced the hive ball that you could throw around. Very cool to destroy the crystals, the soul hive fire. A lot of very cool lore going into Nokris and, you know, subsequently Season of Arrivals, which is really cool. The boss, Nokris himself, kind of annoying. There are damage gates. You could, you know, glitch him out with Wardcliff and kill him instantly. But even though there were damage gates, it wasn't a super long damage gate, like to kill the knights and get the balls and do more damage. Wasn't that bad. And all in all, like, the arena was pretty good. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a pass. If Nokris didn't damage gate, it would be an easy S in my opinion. Next, we have the Will of the Thousands. That is an easy S in my opinion. One of, if not the coolest strike I think we've ever had. That might not be a popular opinion, but it is definitely one I'm pretty proud to hold. So very short strike, very unique strike. We get to investigate the Braytech facilities. We get to use the Javelin, kind of the culmination of the Warmind DLC. Yeah, it's a worm god, should have been a raid boss, blah, 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 whatever. But in terms of what we got in the content that we get, it's an amazing strike. I love the boss fight. You can melt Zol instantly, but even if you don't, you get the Javelin and you get to do damage like that. He's a very non-traditional boss where kind of a bullet sponge, but it's not someone you can just run up with shotguns and swords. You know, Zol's obviously a giant worm that will, if you get too close, just body smack you and kill you. Very awesome fight. Big fan of Will of the Thousands, and I definitely hope it returns. We need more strikes like this, in my opinion. Now, the final one in Warmind, and the only remaining strike of Warmind, the In-Sight Terminus. Once again, kind of just a solid B, a super, super average strike. Nothing to write home about. You just kind of go in, you fight through rooms. Most of this strike is running past enemies that you don't have to kill. It is what it is, I guess. The damage gating feels really annoying in the boss room because you have to stand on the you know, when you're fighting Kargan, there are the Vex portal circles that you have to stand on, and they take like a solid minute of you standing on them to do anything. So it's a lot of dead time. Not a fun strike. You can't really bake this boss. Is what it is. Just a solid B. I'm not mad at strikes of this quality, but I definitely wish that they were a little bit better. Now we are moving on to Forsaken strikes, and I think this should surprise no one. Warden of Nothing is an amazing strike. I think Warden of Nothing does a really good job of showing how creative Bungie is when it comes to using past content in present content. I mean, this was a lot of the Prison of Elders that we had seen before. I mean, they took one of the rooms directly out of Prison of Elders and put it right in the strike, and it played super well. Very, very cool. I love the tracks where you're on the sparrows dodging the trains. Very unique for strikes. Done very well. It's a little long, but I think it serves it well at the end of the day. The boss arena is really cool. The boss fight's very fun, not damage gated, anything like that. And there's additional bosses that spawn in the boss fight if you don't kill them fast enough, which is super cool. So I'm a big fan of this strike. Pretty much a perfect 10 out of 10. Hence the S tier, and yeah, just super, super good. Now we're gonna move on to Broodhold. Not really a fan of this strike. The first half of the strike is just running through rooms that are pretty much the same as each other. There's like 3 of the same rooms, like in a row, where you have to fight just a bunch of hive for no reason. The worm mechanic's pretty cool. It's pretty fun to troll your friends where you wait till the worm's about to explode and then you drop it in front of your friends and they pick it up and they blow up. I think that's kind of fun. But I mean, the boss fight's all right. It just, I don't know. It's just a Seek. I don't, there's not really much else to say about it. It's nothing to write home about. It's not an awful strike, but it's not a fun strike. So, see. Now we have the Hollowed Layer. Easy F, in my opinion. This is probably the most unfun piece of content from Forsaken. The strike is ungodly long. Like, it is so long. The boss fight sucks, damage gated, it's not interesting. The boss literally has an attack where he holds you in place in the air and all the enemies that spawn at the same time can instantly melt you. It's not fun, not a fun boss fight. And the one redeeming quality is that between damage cycles of the boss, 100 enemies spawn and you can kill them all. And it's probably the most enemies that spawn at a single time in all of Destiny, but they don't even count. You can't use them for bounties, you can't use them for catalysts. It's awful. This strike sucks real bad. And I hope we don't really get super long, tedious strikes like this in the future. Not really a fan. Now, this is probably going to be my controversial pick of this list, the Corrupted. I'm gonna give it a B. Now, it is, once again, just an insanely long strike. Too long of a strike. However, it does a really good job of making up for this in the mechanics and the aesthetics. So the aesthetics are incredible. Now, the mechanics of going through the strike and coming in and out of the Ascendant realm are really cool. That is something we've never really seen in Destiny. They're doing it on the fly. You have to go through a portal in the ogre room where you're fighting 2 ogres in different planes. In terms of lore and what you're doing and jumping through planes and killing things and just making it through the strike and eventually making it to the boss, absolutely incredible. Boss fight, once again, a little too long. I wish she didn't have that extended phase, like where she runs away and you have to run through a bunch of platforms and hit her in the final room. Not really a fan of that, but all in all, the entire strike is probably the grandest scale strike we have in all of Destiny. It's incredibly large. It's incredibly complex. A lot of mechanics are flowing together. The balls are really cool too. You throw them to a friend to charge them, that sort of thing. A lot of really awesome things. And, you know, I wish it wasn't quite as long. It probably would have put it right up at S if it was a bit shorter, but I'm going to give it a solid B. Now we are moving on to Shadowkeep strikes. We have the Scarlet Keep. This is pretty much just the Hive version of the Hollowed Lair. Super long, super annoying. The boss is damage gated. The elevator is 4 minutes of standing still. It's not fun. Not a fan of this strike at all. The one saving grace is the Scarlet Keep in terms of like its aesthetics is absolutely beautiful. It looks incredible the whole time. But the strike itself, not really that fun. And then Festering Core. I think I'm gonna give this one a C. Just a boring strike. Not the first half of it's just dead space, not a lot of things attacking you. You just running through endless Vex constructs with like 4 enemies. The walls are super buggy. They're not very fun. You can't really speed run it. And then the boss sucks as well. Honestly, this is a borderline D. Like, I mean, Bungie even themselves, they introduced it and then immediately sunset it, right? Like, I don't know. I'm gonna leave it at a C. It has some saving graces, but I mean, no, it's a D. it's a solid D. I'm not a fan of this strike at all. Now, the Disgraced, once again, just it's a Destiny 1 strike. I love the way that they changed it in terms of the boss room. When it was the Omnigul strike, the boss room was the worst thing in the world. There was nowhere to hide. It was super dumb. You know, she could just kill you like that with her arc attack. I love the way that they've changed the boss room to kind of alleviate that problem. It's a very, very fun strike. I love the way that, you know, you're interchanging between like Fallen and Hive, and it feels really good in terms of and really natural in terms of that. However, you do have to listen to Shaw Han talk, or Han Shaw, whatever the hell his name is, the whole strike, which really sucks. But it's a pretty good strike. It's a very, very solid strike. A B is definitely, this is probably above average to above average. And then the final strike, Glassway. I'm gonna give it a C. It's a pretty standard strike. It's not bad. The aesthetics are absolutely beautiful, but the boss fight is entirely too long. I love the part where you drain the room and then you go across it, but once again, entirely too long. And then, you know, the first half of the strike is just running and it's entirely too long. So really cool concepts, no really unique mechanics, and it's just very long. So I'm pretty happy with this list. Just taking a look at it right here. I'm pretty confident in this. Let me know your tier list down in the comment section below. What are your favorite strikes? And more importantly, or I guess more succinctly, what do you agree with or disagree with in my list? Let me know down in the comment section below. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like rating and to share it with your friends. Once again, we are on the road to 75,000 subscribers. So if you're interested in more awesome Destiny content, you can hit the giant version of my logo on screen to be subscribed to more awesome Destiny 2 videos and live streams. If you're interested in watching either of the 2 videos on screen, you can click their respective annotations to be taken to them. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I'll see you in my next video.